I'm going to talk about talent analytics. Thanks to World HRD Congress and Dr. Bhatia, Asif for inviting me. Um, a short introduction. My name is SHARAD VERMA. I'm the Global HR Head for Polaris Consulting and Services Limited, the IT company. You must have heard the name Polaris. And basically, I've had a long interest in analytics. Many of you, I see a lot of experienced people around the room. So you would have known that about, say, maybe 10 years or 15 years back, we still had analytics. We had dashboard. We had a lot of numbers in HR. It was called human capital management, right? In about, I remember that in 2005, I was with BNY Mellon, and there was an international committee on human capital metrics, and I was actually heading that international committee. And then very rapidly over the next 3 or 4 years, the whole field got evolved, and from human capital metrics and dashboards and all that, it became talent analytics, and data scientists got into the field, and suddenly it became the numbers became very sexy, right? I think that happened around 2008, 2010. A lot of sophistication around data, how to look at data, what is the story that the data is telling you, what can you predict looking at the data, how can you model the data, and stuff like that, right? A lot of it was actually first happened in the business and then kind of trickled down to HR. But I would also think that I've seen people in HR and I've seen my own interest. I think HR has also taken a driving seat in analytics in many companies, especially when HR people are number savvy. And more I find I meet HR people who are number savvy. There was a time when they were not number savvy. They were more people, and they used to really run away from numbers. And basically their career path had been running away from maths, ended up in HR, right? So they were all about, okay, these are numbers, but we are people. We are about people, right? So that was a very common answer that one used to get. But I think just because you are number savvy doesn't mean you are not people oriented. I think both sides of the coin are equally important. If you don't know your numbers, you will never be taken seriously in today's business, right? I think in some ways, I don't know if you have seen that trend, but in many ways, finance and HR are actually converging when it comes to the financials of a business. Sometimes HR ends up reporting to finance. I have not yet seen a finance head reporting to HR head, but I have seen HR head reporting to finance head. And if you see some of the HCM software which is currently available, which is actually cutting edge software, for example, Workday, it actually brings HR and finance together because especially if you take, for example, IT services, 60-70% of your cost is actually manpower. So if you don't have some kind of number science going on there, you are ignoring a very large part of your company and you just don't know how to run it. So that's the prelude. I'm going to cover it from systems perspective because as you can see, the topic given to me is use of analytics in talent decisions from a systems perspective. What I'm going to talk about is basically what is the systems approach, analytics as an engine to innovation, just a couple of minutes on that, and a real life example because that's what excites HR people, that not just gyan, but where have you actually implemented it and what is the result it has given you, right? So I have a number of slides. I'm going to put this up on SlideShare later. So I'll move through it quickly, so that we can cover because I think half an hour is less time. So I'll start with a quotation. This is frequently heard at Google. In God we trust. Everything else is data, right? Do you believe in that? And see, this was why this sentence is important is it changed the way of managing itself. Before we saw companies like Google on a hyper growth path, we used to believe that people who are sitting in the boardroom, people who have 30 years of experience, they know best. Experience is the best thing in the world. and some people with smarter people with lot of IQ, lot of experience, what they decide is best. But then a revolution happened in the last 10 years, which is basically data-driven management. It's not about experience, it's not about judgment, it's not about power, it's not about sitting in the corner room, it's about data. And if you ignore data, you will not have growth. You will have everything, but your company will not grow, right? Because you will not be able to analyze the data, where your market is, where you are losing people, why that competitor won. And you are basically driving the car according to your experience, but not having the numbers at your fingertips, right? And again, it has enveloped every part of our life, right? Today we have smartphone which measures how many steps you walked. It has health app on it which tells you what is the state of your health. So we have become extremely number driven, and lot of it is instant feedback. How fast you speak, how fast you type, what you do during the day, how many emails do you send out, what's your productivity level, how many hours do you stay awake. And a lot of this is actually captured in real time, right? And supposedly it's making us smarter, right? So we don't know for sure, but it looks like it is, right? So